Thanks for watching and tuning in again. I won't talk a lot now. I will simply read out the second part of the story, so you will find out what will happen to Auroris and her family. Time passed and Auroris took very good care of all the flowers, but the cloud did not move. Summer elapsed into autumn, and autumn changed into winter. Auroris grew tired, and it was more difficult to take care of all the flowers. The winter became colder and colder, and Auroris did not have the warmth to keep all flowers alive. One by one withered away. Slowly she began to realize Ophelia's words. When spring finally arrived, only 12 flowers remained. Among them, Ophelia's, Matthias's, and Arise's. Now all the dragons were gone for a year, and there was no sign of them. One time, Auroris met a bird who told her that the war was growing darker and would last longer. A second winter killed 5 more flowers, and a third winter killed another 4. Auroris looked up in the last 3 flowers. Her tulip, shining in purple, white, and golden colors, Matthias's sea lily glittering in all the shades of blue and green, and Ophelia's deep green rose, rising above a hill, surrounded by dead flowers. Auroris realized her failure. The once beautiful garden had withered away, never to return to its old glory. Then the 4th winter came to the garden. One night, a snowstorm raged like a fire among the flowers. Auroris tried everything she could to protect the last freestanding flowers from the snow. Spells, magic, curses, and dragonfire she sent against the cold. She thought she was winning, but suddenly a shadow appeared and broke the green rose. Auroris cried full of sorrow. With her last remaining strength, she spread her wings over the 2 remaining flowers. Eventually, like every storm, it broke when spring arrived. The cloud parted, and after 4 years Auroris could feel the sun on her scales. It was wonderful. But the sunlight also shone up on all the dead flowers. Like corpses, they were lying motionless in the grass, and Auroris began to cry. Now she fully understood what Ophelia meant. She was the last dragon, the one that had to remember all the glorious days that would never return. Yet she heard someone above her. It was Matthias, who had returned from war, a lone survivor. Please, my darling dragon, stop crying. You did everything you could, and sometimes it is not enough. The war is over, and we can rest now. Matthias kissed Auroris, and together they lied down in the shadow of her flower. When will you tell me about the war? How did all the others die? This is a story for another day, he said, and Auroris nodded. She could not take in any more grief. When they woke up again, day had turned to night, and night had turned to day again. They looked around and saw how all the dead flowers had disappeared and turned into fertile soil. Auroris and Matthias tended to the flowers, and every night Matthias told her about the war. After a year he had finished his tale. Auroris looked at him and asked, "What shall we do now?" "We will remember them. They will become stories and shadows like the ancient kings and queens and their ruins." For a moment there was silence. Then Auroris said, "Yes, that sounds like a good idea. We will think of them when we dance." I think it is clear that this story is all about war and the dragons who preserve their flowers that stand for artful beauty, who keep the history of their island alive, and the culture of their island is exactly what happens when war breaks out, because war does not only kill people, it also kills culture and history and everything beautiful people like to do and like to create. So the war in my story is stretching over 4 years and is so horrible no ancient dragon has ever experienced. So I like to think that it is World War I, because it is the first war that really affected the entire globe and has really been horrible on a scale that has never been there before. Weapons used as a machinery to destroy people or to wipe out nations. And in my story, The Secret Garden, it is another perspective. It is a fantasy of World War I, because with this story I wanted to create an artful piece of writing about war. Also, many people consider World War II to be the worst war of the 20th century, and yes, you can definitely argue about that, but I do believe that World War I was really the war that brought humans to the worst level of fighting and killing people through because of the gas that was used, because of the bombs and the machinery that was used. And this is why I wanted to write my first story on war about World War I. And I'm pretty sure it is not going to be my last story on war, because as Matthias said, you did everything you could, but sometimes it is not enough. There are many good people all around the world who try to prevent war from happening, but and sometimes they succeed. But humans will always create conflicts because we are all individuals and we all have different opinions. But as Matthias says, sometimes it is not enough. So, just considering recent events such as the Middle East or North Korea and the USA who might go to war, I think there will always be an opportunity to write about war because there'll always be another one. And I mean, I could be wrong about everything I've just said about war, but we are humans, we have flaws, and we all make mistakes. So the idea of war might be inevitable, and the idea of a world peace might be pure fantasy. Now, please don't despair, because my story ends with hope. The dragons return to the garden and tend to it, and the garden will grow again. If you've liked my story and what I've said about it, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so yet. Also, the next story will be more entertaining because the last two ones have been quite heavy. You will get a Halloween special with a Halloween short story. So I hope you will like that. Thanks for listening and watching. Hope to see you soon.